Yo, what's up guys? You got pokeaim here with some news regarding Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon. The hidden abilities for the starter Pokemon Primarina, Decidueye, and Incineroar have been released, which means that Primarina now has access to Liquid Voice, Decidueye has access to Long Reach, and Incineroar now has Intimidate. So, for those of you that actually play on Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon, you can get this through Pokebank. However, I want to talk a little bit about this in regards to obviously competitive play, and if you guys have any thoughts or anything that I might have missed or anything that you just want to add, feel free to in the comment section down below. So we'll start off with Primarina. Primarina now has Liquid Voice. Liquid Voice turns all sound moves into water attacks, or they become water type rather. So this is really interesting. Unfortunately, it's not like Pixelate, Aerialate, or just any of the 8 abilities where it actually boosts the power of those attacks too. So that really does suck because it doesn't give it really something like over Sparkling Aria. Whereas, like, as you can see, Primarina does get Hyper Voice, so which is 90 base power, and it's obviously a normal type attack, but that becomes water. Now, that's pretty cool for a doubles metagame or a VGC metagame where you can actually attack both with Hyper Voice and it's a water type attack. So being able to hit, like, you know, the Landorus next to the Tapu Koko or something like that, just being able to hit a double type attack. But as far as a singles metagame goes, I pretty much put the best moves here that it gets. It also has Growl, Disarming Voice, and stuff like this. I think in general these are the moves you would see, not as a set, but these are any of the moves that you would see being affected by Liquid Voice for the most part in competitive play. Again, this is not a set. This is just the moves. If it had Liquid Voice, it'd have one of these. So Sing is really interesting because while it was normal type before, it still affected ghost types because it wasn't like a direct target attack or anything like that. It was still just like, you know, Confuse Ray works on normal types and whatnot. Sing can still work on ghost types prior to being a water type attack if you want to use this. But it is pretty interesting because Pokemon with Water Absorb actually are immune to Sing because now it's a water type attack. So a Pokemon like Volcanion, for example, let's say you actually did use Sing Primarina. You shouldn't because it doesn't have the accuracy, but this is just something I wanted to let you guys know. It would be able to absorb that. Now, this is really, really interesting with Perish Song because, again, if you pair Primarina next to a Pokemon with Water Absorb and you use Perish Song, it doesn't affect that Pokemon. They're immune to it. This also works with Storm Dream, I believe, and Dry Skin, if I'm not mistaken, of course. I know 100% works with Water Absorb. I'm not 100% with anything else, but I think it still works for Parasol in general. So the Parasol would still go out, but it just wouldn't affect the Pokemon next to it. So that's, again, really cool for a doubles type of metagame, maybe, if you wanted to use that, since it's sort of similar to Soundproof. And obviously, these moves all go through subs. So Hyper Voice, again, I mentioned how it'll be, like, you'll probably most see this in a doubles metagame, but in a singles metagame, since Primarina is UU, the only Pokemon that I think that uses sub, or that I've seen sub on in the UU tier would be like a sub-Calm Mind Chandelure and a sub-Toxic Gliscor. Everything else, Como, you wouldn't go for Hyper Voice versus anyway, and it could also have Soundproof, but everything else you don't really... like Nidoking, if it goes for sub, Sludge Wave will knock you out. So that's just an interesting thing that I found out about that. So maybe it does have some use on like a spec set if you don't want to use Hydro Pump or Sparkling Aria for the accuracy, and also just because Sparkling Aria is also a sound-based move, but it also it heals their burn. Like why would I want to heal my opponent's burn? No. If I burnt them with a Scald from this Pokemon, I want them to stay burnt. But Hyper Voice has some use in that sense, whereas you can actually hit like a sub-Toxic Gliscor or a sub-Calm Mind Chandelure behind the sub, and, you know, especially if it like a Specs Primarina, you're still going to OHKO Chandelure with +1 as long as it's like a 75% or something like that. So I think something really, really heat and really, really cool that it can be used is Echoed Voice. Now, Echoed Voice, if you guys didn't know, its power increases when used on consecutive turns. So the more you use Echoed Voice, the stronger it gets. It's kind of like a self-metronome. Now, I believe Metronome and Echoed Voice also stack, so that's something you could do, but maybe like on a spec set, or even just on, like, again, a Heat Metronome set. Maybe you'll see MV use this, maybe I'll use it myself, but you just keep clicking Echoed Voice, and it keeps boosting in power, and it's stab now too because of Liquid Voice. So that's something I can see. What are you guys' thoughts on Primarina getting Liquid Voice, though? Don't see too much use in OU, and in the singles metagame, rather. It's a UU tier Pokemon. If we actually go up to OU real quick, and we actually look at the tier, and we think about like sub mons or whatnot, maybe sub on Hawlucha if you're like a Fizz Dev Primarina, but even then Moonblast is just a better option. Yeah, I can't really see much use for this when it comes to Instinct. I mean, Primarina in general, a Specs one will hit hard in OU anyway, and you can just run Psychic for Tox Specs and whatnot. But when it comes to the UU metagame, I guess we might see it on a set or two. It's not like Volcanion wasn't already absorbing the water type attack prior, so maybe you'll see it, and maybe you'll run into a subtoxic Gliscor and be able to do that. Of course, that's not the most common Gliscor set. You got SD, Facade, Earthquake, Roost as being the most common one, but yeah, and or maybe a Stealth Rock variant, but yeah. So Primarina gets that. Interesting. I want to know your guys' thoughts. Now, Decidueye gets Long Reach. What Long Reach does is it makes all its moves non-contact moves. So if your opponent has a Rocky Helmet, for example, Iron Barbs, Rough Skin, and let's say you use a contact move like Leaf Blade from Decidueye or Low Kick from Decidueye. Let's say you're attacking a random Ferrothorn, right? Or you're attacking a Water type and they switch into Ferrothorn and you go for Leaf Blade. You will not be taking the Rocky Helmet or the Iron Barbs damage because Long Reach makes all your attacks non-contact. So that's interesting, though I don't know the actual use of it because Spirit Shackle was already non-contact, so it already had this physical attack that it's using most of the time to stop your opponent from switching out, right? This ghost type attack that traps. It already had this, and it already made no contact. So I'm not 100% sure. And at the same time, Decidueye is RU, and one RU set was Sub Swords Dance and Leaf Blade. And the thing about this set is it could also run Grassium Z. This was like one set that was ran. It could run Grassium Z. And it actually depended on Overgrow to be able to knock out Pokemon like Umbreon at +2. So that's one set that was used on the Decidueye. Obviously there's Trapper sets, there's SD, 3 attacks. It has utility. But on maybe like a choice set in general, and maybe you don't want to take damage. Like the only Mon in RU I could think of that runs a Rocky Helmet, if it's not Xatu coming up from the other tier, but even then you'd Spirit Shackle that. It's Chestnut, but like I said, Chestnut is also a Pokemon that you'd Spirit Shackle with Decidueye. So and it'd be trapped, and it can't really touch you back unless it's like toxic on it. So because you obviously are immune to Drain Punch and you resist Wood Hammer. Besides that, like if you actually go through the RU tier, there's not much that would maybe run a Rocky Helmet, maybe a Mandibuzz, possibly to help with the Blade. But besides that, you really don't see anything rocking that item, no pun intended, in the tier. So while it is pretty cool because none of your moves make contact for a random Rocky Helmet, that could be cool. Maybe if you bring this thing up to OU, you want to use it and you want to trap like Ferrothorns or Landorus even, and then you want to Leaf Blade Landorus because it is stronger than Spirit Shackle, which makes sense. You won't be taking Rocky Helmet damage, so that's pretty cool. So maybe it has some use in the higher tiers. Let's actually look at UU real quick and contact moves. Rocky Helmet Alomola is definitely an option, but I mean, like Leaf Blade's blowing that thing back anyway. I guess Arcanine is pretty cool, but again, you're going for Spirit Shackle versus that. Yeah, outside of that, I don't know. I don't really see. Maybe like if you, like I said, I mentioned OU because you have Garchomp, you have Rocky Helmet Landorus, you have Ferrothorn up there. So those are like premier Pokemon with either Rocky Helmet or just their ability in Garchomp's case. Rough Skin, you lose damage from it. So interesting, but for the most part, Decidueye spams Spirit Shackle anyway, unless it's using Leaf Blade versus a Pokemon that's either resistant to Spirit Shackle, so Umbreon, or Leaf Blade is just super effective, so a Water type. So still pretty interesting that it has Long Reach now. Overgo definitely does have its use in the set, and even then you still also can run Ghostium as well. But let me know your thoughts, of course. I do want to know your thoughts on Decidueye. Last but not least, we have Intimidate on Incineroar. Now, this is awesome, okay? I'm going to take it back to VGC real quick. In VGC, Arcanine, last generation, not right now, but last generation Arcanine was probably one of the best Pokemon. Easily the best Fire type. Like, easily the best Fire type. Why? Because of Intimidate, have Recovery, could have Will-O-Wisp, Extreme Speed, a whole bunch of things. But Incineroar has stuff over that, meaning it has Fake Out, and it has U-Turn. That's two big things that Incineroar has over that. Also, being part Dark means that with Fire and Dark, you are immune to Lele's Psychic, obviously, as well as Moonblast is neutral. And it has good base HP at base 95, and then, average or above average defenses at base 90 each. So it's a pretty bulky Pokemon. I really wish this mon got higher speed. I don't know why when it evolved from Torracat they decided, hey, let's just take all its speed out, man. Let's just take all this Pokemon speed out. But as far as a VGC goes, having Intimidate, being able to do work versus, you know, blocking weakening Salamence, Landorus, Pokemon like that, Mega Metagross, that's pretty cool. And having utility and Fake Out and U-Turn, and as well as knockoff. So I think that's really cool. Now, bring this up to the singles metagame. Incineroar is actually NU, if I'm not mistaken. Let's just check real quick. I mean, I've seen it used in NU. Yep, it's NU. Okay. So Intimidate's really cool just in general, right? On a choice band set with U-Turn, I'd rather have Intimidate because maybe I can come in on a setup mon in the tier, for example. Like, or even being able to pivot on something like a Metacham locked in, just getting my Intimidate. Obviously a Scyther. Sneasel is a big one. Like you switching to Sneasel naturally because he resisted dual stat, so getting off that Intimidate is pretty cool. Maybe even able to take an Earthquake from Steelix if necessary. But Intimidate's really cool. I could see Swords Dance or bulk up sets even rising up in popularity just because now that it has Intimidate to have that natural defensive aid. We can actually set up a little bit more. I mean, my favorite set on this Pokemon is Swords Dance, 3 attacks, right? You have Darkest Lariat, Flare Blitz, and then the last move is Earthquake. And even this could see some use. Like I've used this Pokemon in OU, and Intimidate being able to block that, being able to come in Celesteela, Scizor, boosted Scizor. So that's really cool. I think this is the most useful ability when it comes to the singles metagame that Incineroar got, and I think it's also going to help VGC a ton too because it's a good fire type. Why do I forget his name? He's a friend of mine. Oh man. One of my boys used an Incineroar team. I think it was Incineroar Mega Metagross, I want to say. He knows who he is. If he's watching this video, he knows who he is in VGC. I recently saw a tweet about it too. Like he was talking about, or was it Arcanine Mega Metagross? But I recently saw a tweet about how he was responding to a Japanese tweet about somebody, a Japanese player made a team that looked really similar to his, and he felt bad because it was like, crap, man, I thought I actually built a team this time. But you know who he is. Why can I not forget his name? It's on the top of my head. Okay, anyway. You're my boy, though. You know who you are. But I think this is really cool for Incineroar. I'm really excited to use it, especially because Incineroar has so many support options. Knockoff, U-Turn. On the Assault Vest set, which is something that's also ran in the NU tier because it checks Delphox exceptionally well, and the Broken Ice type that is the Ice Cream, Vanillix. That's really cool. So has a lot of support options, and really excited to see how this Pokemon ends up coming out coming up just because it has Intimidate and the sets that it was. So like I said, I do want to know your guys' thoughts. Feel free to leave them down below. Pretty excited about the new abilities, but this is the big one that actually I care most about because the other ones, while they're interesting, this one being interesting because I want to use Echoed Voice, and this one being interesting because I can try it in OU at long reach. I think Incineroar is the one that got the best out of it when it comes to the singles metagame. So, like I said, let me know your thoughts. Leave them down below. I'll catch you guys later. Goodbye, friends.